Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for your time and dedication. I really admire your enthusiasm in preaching. I hope we can have more regular classes with you. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. We will start today. Today, Her Grace Shamesta Binesh will do the introduction to the Mataji. Thank you so much, Shamesta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all the dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. So today I have the pleasure of introducing the speaker for tonight. Tonight's speaker is Mother Ranga Devi Dasi. Mother Ranga Devi Dasi is a temple resident at the Sri Sri Radharadhanath Temple. She is a teacher at the Bhakti Vedanta College. And I am one of the students who is currently studying Bhakti Shastri under her guidance. Mataji is also a Namahata leader, and she is also a book distributor. Mataji is also currently engaged in service in the deity department at the Sri Sri Radharadhanath Temple. And despite the numerous services that Mataji has, she always makes time for us as her students. If we ever have questions, we always can approach her. And Mataji is a wonderful teacher. She always encourages us, and she always tries to engage us in devotional service. And we are really grateful for her guidance. So without any further delay, I would now like to hand you over to Mother Ranga Devi Dasi. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Samissa. Thank you. So we'll start with Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Prajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Prajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tiravanachari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Guru, Hari Bol, Nitai Guru, Hari Bol. Jaya Om Vishnu Para Paramhamsa Parivracharya Aswatasara Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sahagar Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Giri Raj Govardhan Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today's topic is entitled Krishna's Transcendental Blanket. Now we know Krishna has many blankets, right? And we're going to talk about two of his blankets. So today we're going to speak about the blanket of illusion and his transcendental blanket. But we'll start off with the blanket of illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upatakshani te gyanam gyananis tadvadarshinam. That one should approach a spiritual master to inquire from him transcendental knowledge. And furthermore, he basically will just explain his blanket of illusion and how it works. That is Krishna's illusory blanket of illusion. When the living entities want to enjoy separately from Krishna, Krishna, being the all-merciful Lord, makes proper arrangement for us by his blanket of illusion, or in other words, his external energy, Mahamaya. Now recently, the Hindus celebrated Navaratri in worship of Mother Durga. And we'll just talk about Mother Durga for a while. Then we'll go on to other pastimes. The living entity who is in total bliss in the spiritual world, right? Enjoying with Krishna, playing with Krishna, laughing with Krishna, and acting in 5 different ways that we have relationships with Krishna in the spiritual world. So they're completely engaged and totally blissed out in the spiritual world. And now with this blanket of illusion, they are tightly wrapped up and thrown down from the spiritual world to this material world. Why? Because of a little sort of desire to enjoy separately from Krishna or to be the Lord, some enviousness that creeps in, and we think that, why is Krishna enjoying so much? Why can't I enjoy like that? And therefore we are thrown down into this material world. So this blanket of illusion covers us and throws us. So there's the covering potency and the throwing potency. So we are thrown down into this material world of complexities in total ignorance. A temporary world filled with suffering, exactly like the living entity being wrapped up in the womb and is forced out by the mother's air during childbirth, covered with blood, stool, and urine. So this is how gross it is, right? When he thus falls from grace into this material world, he is all perplexed, bewildered, and in total ignorance. He is fortunate if he questions as to, who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is this life all about? And then he will get answers to his questions. The Lord within the heart will actually help him to come out of his suffering. So this is the result of the living entity. The unfortunate living entity who cannot see or cannot question their existence will be sucked in by material nature and go through the trials and tribulations of life until he comes to his senses. Material nature, our beloved mother in the form of Durga, who is the warden of this prison house, right? She is the warden of this prison house, and her task or her service, her devotional service to Krishna is to keep us here. And by keeping us here, she inflicts us with insurmountable of pain. This is her causeless mercy. What do you say? Causeless mercy? Pain is mercy? Well, actually, it is her mercy, because she wants us to wake up from our sleeping situation, sleeping condition, and take us out of this material world. Dear devotees, please don't be mistaken. Yes, she has a thankless task of keeping us bound in this material world. This is her service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as Yamaraj is given the task of punishing those living entities who go to the hellish planets. Do you think that's an easy task, to inflict pain upon somebody? But Yamaraj has that service, and he has to do it. So similarly, Durga, Mother Durga, she has this thankless task of keeping us bound in this material world. And you will notice that in her 8 hands, she has these 8 weapons, like the sword and the mace and the trident, the chakra, the spear, the arrow, just to inflict pain upon the living entities. And until we learn our lesson. And when we start to question as to why is there so much of pain in this material world, you know, why do I have to suffer so much? And then that's when she retracts these weapons. But this may take many lifetimes. Sometimes she throws the sword, sometimes she throws the trident, sometimes she throws the spear, you know, until we learn our lesson. Just like the prisoner in the prison house. He broke the laws of the government and he's placed in the prison house. So, you know, he's there for reformation, and he has to reform in order to come out of the prison house. So we, dear devotees, we have to reform ourselves in order to go back home, back to Godhead. So similarly, Durga is doing her service of keeping us imprisoned in this world of duality, this material world of samsara, birth and death. When the living entities come to their senses and ask relevant questions as to who am I? What am I doing here? Then Krishna makes all the arrangement for us to go back home, back to Godhead. And then basically his internal potency, which is Yoga Maya, will envelop us and steer us in the right direction. Then she sends a devotee our way, or one of Srila Prabhupada's books, or Mahaprashadam, or a festival. We may attend a festival and in that way become enlightened. So there's so many ways that, you know, Yoga Maya will actually help us to come to the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. This is how merciful Yoga Maya is, right? She keeps us in her embrace, and when we become complacent as a devotee, then she gives us a wake-up call, right? And you know, we'll think like, hey, I'm a devotee, and why am I going through all these trials and tribulations? But no, this is her task to bring us back home. And in that way, you know, she uses this potency to help us to climb the yoga ladder and to basically go back home. Now let us go to another topic that will delight your senses and nourish your soul as we dive into the spiritual world by Krishna's mercy. Here's a story of Kamaravan, or Krishna's own transcendental blanket. So we're diverting from the topic now, and we're going into the spiritual world and looking at some of Krishna's pastimes, right? So as we all know, Krishna is never alone. He's always with some devotee, either the peacock, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Radharani, the gopis, like this. So therefore he expands himself as the living entities to become many, of whom the most prominent is Srimati Radharani. So for the sake of pastimes, Srimati Radharani is married to Abhimanyu, who is the shadow potency of Krishna actually, and he takes on a form. So once Krishna waited to meet Radharani secretly. This is called Parikya Bhav, unwedded love, which is predominant in Vrindavan. So Krishna told his friends that he wanted to go and visit Kamaravan. So he didn't tell them that he wants to go meet Srimati Radharani, because the cowherd boys, they don't like the girls associating with them, the gopis, right? So which is Kamaravan is not far away from Nidhivan, where Krishna was playing. So the cowherd boys, they said, okay, Krishna, if you'd like to go, you're most welcome to go. So Krishna went to Kamaravan, and it was midwinter in India. You know how cold winter is. And he carried a kamara, or a blanket, a shawl to wrap himself. He placed it upon a rock and waited for Srimati Radharani to come. And he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and there was no sign of Srimati Radharani. That day, her mother-in-law was suspicious of her, and she wouldn't let her out of her sight, even to go to do her Surya Puja at Surya Kund. So Krishna was getting impatient, and he was getting up from his seat and looking around and going back and sitting and getting up. You know how it is when you're waiting for somebody, and you look at the road all the time as to when is this person going to come, right? Or when is a car going to pull up, like that. So Krishna was anxious, and he was looking all around looking for Radharani, and she wasn't coming. So Krishna was basically on the verge of falling unconscious. So in eagerness, he spoke to his flute, and everyone in Vrindavan is animate, right? Or inanimate is conscious. So all living beings in Vrindavan, whether animate or inanimate, are conscious. So he spoke to his flute. Please speak to Srimati Radharani and tell her that I'm at the end of a precipice and I'm waiting for her. So the flute went into Samadhi and conveyed the message to Srimati Radharani. And she received the message that Krishna is standing on the precipice or the edge of a cliff and is about to faint. So Srimati Radharani, she got the message. She understood that this is what's happening, and she ran immediately. She came forward. So when she came to this place, there were some dry leaves on the floor, and she stepped on those dry leaves, and she awoke Krishna. And when Krishna saw her golden effulgence, it prevented him from falling unconscious. He quickly rose and rushed to meet her. They then spent time walking, talking, joking in this way. Towards the afternoon, Srimati Radharani went back to Yavat, and Krishna was still reeling from the love of Srimati Radharani. And a thought came over his mind. After she left, he was still like in this mood of intense love for Srimati Radharani. And as his mind was wandering, he thought about his blanket. Where is my blanket? Excuse me. So he was thinking, maybe I left it in Kamaravan, or did I leave it with the cowherd boys? I can't remember. I'm still suffering from the effects of Radharani's company. And now he was in separation. he could not recall, so he walked around looking for the blanket. He saw some gopis tidying up the forest and asked them if they saw his winter blanket. One gopi said, a strong gust of wind blew it into the Yamuna and it floated away. Another gopi said, I don't think that was Krishna's blanket. On our way here, I saw some cows chewing on something. I think that was Krishna's blanket. And Krishna was getting anxious and he did not want to believe them. Then the third gopi teased, Krishna, don't worry. For a small price of a flute song and a dance, we will give you a new blanket. But Krishna wasn't in the mood for a joke and he quickly left looking for his blanket. After some time, he came across Durvasa Muni with a loincloth and matted hair, wandering in Vrindavan forest. And guess what? He was holding Krishna's blanket, as if he had just discovered a great treasure. He held it close to his heart. So he said to Krishna, is this your blanket? Krishna replied, it was mine until it came to you. So, dear devotees, how many of us can say that? You know, if somebody's got something of ours, how many of us can say that, you know, it was mine until it came to you and you have it now, so it's yours? Can we say that? We'll want whatever belongs to us, we'll want it back, right? This is how selfish our desires are. But here, Krishna is teaching us, he's showing us that, you know, this is a Brahmana and, you know, he's got my blanket and he said, you know, now that it's in your possession, you can have it. It shows that Krishna is very renounced. Krishna said, that is my business, is to give gifts to Brahmanas on a daily basis. I could never take a gift from a Brahmana. Therefore, what you hold belongs to you. Please do with the blanket as you wish, right? Pleased with Krishna's humility and kindness, Durvasa Muni accepted the blanket. He knew by using that gift, he would become free from the cycle of birth and death. So that gift from Krishna is called Tadiya, or you know, paraphernalia from Krishna is called Tadiya. It's very auspicious. And devotees take this very seriously. They hold these items close to their hearts. Srila Prabhupada once told His Holiness Indradyumna Swami that a gift from a Vaishnava is a very rare gift. As Srila Prabhupada gave him his dhoti when he went to preach in France. So we see that a gift from a Vaishnava is very, very rare. Actually, you know, I have been to some devotees' homes and they have articles of Shishi Radhanath framed like Radharani's skirt or some paraphernalia that the deity has worn. They have it framed in their homes. So this is how auspicious these articles are. And nonetheless, all of us have basically received gifts from our spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada himself, in the form of the holy names and Diksha, initiation. So that's a very, very rare gift. Also from the Lord himself, we receive gifts like Mahaprashadam from the deities, you know, in Mahaprashadam, and you know, so many articles. You know, sometimes we have a sale of the deity's jewelry like that. So these gifts are very, very special like this. In this regard, Uddhava says in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.6.46 that simply decorating ourselves with the gifts that you have enjoyed, Krishna, like flower garlands, oils, you know, jewelry like that, we, your servants, will conquer your illusory energy. So in this way, Kamaravan is so named Kamara, where Krishna waited for Srimati Radharani, as well as the blanket he once lost, and then gave it in charity to Durvasa Muni. Now, dear devotees, Durvasa Muni is a very interesting personality. He is very easily pleased and very easily angered. Therefore, devotees don't like to come across his path. So once the devotees were walking and they came across Durvasa Muni, and he requested something to eat, right? And when Lalita saw him, Lalita Saki, she whispered in Srimati Radharani's ears, "Let's get out of here quick." So they came up with a strategy and they said, just give us an hour and we'll come up with something for you, thinking that it will take too long and Durvasa Muni would go away, so he wouldn't ask for anything. But instead he says, "No, I want to eat now." So the girls looked at Srimati Radharani for assistance and what to do. They all were perplexed. And Srimati Radharani, with the transcendental hands, took some earth from the ground, some dust, and she mixed it with Yamuna Jal, right, that she was carrying, the water pot, and she made some mud biscuits. Now, dear devotees, this reminds me of our childhood, right? We play with the mud and water, and we make different paraphernalias, and when we play house, right? The little girls, they like doing like this, imitating their parents. So she made these mud biscuits, and all the girls were saying, like, "You're gonna give him that, mud biscuits?" And she offered the mud biscuits to Durvasa Muni. So, but basically, Shastra says that one grain of dust from Vrindavan of Rajareman, right, is more valuable than all the opulence of Vaikuntha. He took a small bite, and guess what? He asked for more. In this way, he ate all the biscuits, and then he gave Radharani a blessing that whatever Radharani cooks will taste like nectar, and whoever eats what you cook will never become sick. So Mother Yashoda heard of this, and she requested Mother Kirsida, Radharani's mother, for Radharani to come every day to Nandagram and cook for Krishna. That's when, Radharani would go every day to Nandagram and cook for Krishna, like this. So once Radharani made gulab jamuns for Krishna, and he took one bite. Krishna took one bite of the gulab jamun, and he made his face funny, like, and he spat it out. Sorry, what is this? Radharani was watching from the corner of her eyes, and she became disappointed. She thought that she may have used, salt instead of sugar. It happens to us sometimes, right? Instead of using sugar, we use salt, and we spoil the whole offering. But Krishna did that in order to tease Radharani. He handed his remnants to Mother Mangal, who relished it. So we see that these are pastimes of Krishna, in the spiritual world. There's a nice pastime. Now we're moving out of the spiritual world and coming to the material world again. And there's a nice pastimes that I read on Dandavats recently. A citizen from India, his name is Mr. Singh. He sneaked into Pakistan for better opportunities, right? And he was arrested at the border and convicted of espionage. For the next 35 years, he languished in the Pakistan jails, from one city to another, undergoing unimaginable torture. He even tried adopting Islam to appease the authorities. Thanks to the Indian diplomatic interventions, he was released after 3 decades. So, dear devotees, this is our story. We come here to this material world to find something more tangible. We sneak into the material world for that extra spice in our life. The chance to be an enjoyer, but the blanket of illusion immediately engulfs us, capture us, and hold us prisoners. We are residents of the spiritual world, where every word is a song, every step is a dance, and Vrindavan is a playground of Krishna. Krishna is eternally playing in Vrindavan, right? We have left all that to come here to this miserable material world. But when we want to become masters and enjoy like Krishna, then we are sent here. We are like a fish out of water. Now, Prabhupada gives this analogy all the time, fish out of water. You take a fish out of water and you give it all the luxuries of this material world, and it will not be satisfied, right? So we are like that. We have come into this material world and we are trying to gratify our senses just for some happiness, little happiness. We get fleeting happiness and then it's gone, right? But our original constitutional position is to be in the spiritual world, to be with Krishna. Only when we are reinstated in our original position as servants of Krishna, then only will our thirst be quenched. In the purport of Bhagavad Gita 15:7, Srila Prabhupada states, quote, when the living entity gives up the material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body. With his spiritual body, he can see Krishna face to face, he can hear Krishna, he can speak to Krishna, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. So, dear devotees, let us not waste our time here in this miserable material world, but make every endeavor to go back home, back to Godhead. So I'll stop here. If there's any questions, we can take them. If not, then I have some questions from some devotees that I've been talking about this subject matter, and I could do them now. So, do you have any questions? Hare Krishna. Okay, so let me just get those questions for you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I've got a question.
Yes.
I heard from a Prabhu, he said if you get up early, like Brahma Muhurat time, and if we chant, he said this illusion is not going to be there. I'm not sure if it's true, or does it help to chant Brahma Muhurat time?
See, during Brahma Muhurta, the atmosphere is very clear. The ether is clean, right? There's not much commotion and everything is quiet and relaxed. So during the Brahma Muhurta time, it's more conducive to chant your rounds and to practice spiritual devotional service, basically. It's a more conducive time. So yes, Brahma Muhurta is actually very, very auspicious. And we all should try to rise early, chant our rounds, and during that time. And you'll find that your rounds will go faster as well. And you'll be able to complete your 16 rounds before you go to work, actually, if you do that, if you rise early. So yes, it's very auspicious. I have one question here. Is Mother Durga an expansion of Srimati Radharani? So I would say yes, Mother Durga is an expansion of Radharani. Radharani is the original goddess, right? And all Lakshmis or all female expansions emanate from her. Radharani also expands as the gopis of Krishna to give Krishna more pleasure. This is called Haladini Shakti. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada states that, in the purport of text 1.7.6, he says that Mother Durga, she chastises the living entity to bring us back to Krishna's lotus feet. So she's also doing a task to bring us out, to get us out of this material world. Similarly, Radharani takes the form of Durga to bring us to our senses. Just like a mother, she will actually get angry with the child when the child is undisciplined. She will try to discipline the child. So in that way, she will, try to correct the child. And she may chastise or even, sometimes whack him. So in this way, so this is the role of Durga, is to extricate us out of this material world and back to the spiritual world in the arms of Shri Krishna and Srimati Radharani. So so that's one question I had. The other question was, how can we be assured of Krishna's mercy to go back home, back to Godhead? So yes, we are assured of Krishna's mercy because Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he states that Sarva Dharma Parityajaya Mamekam Saranam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Papibhyo Moksha Yasimi Masachaha, that abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me and I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So Krishna is giving us his word, his assurance that he's going to take us back home. And another point I want to make of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, come as you are and just chant Hare Krishna, and this chanting of Hare Krishna will cleanse all the dirt from the heart, and we are sure to attain Krishna Prem, right? By chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these are the two questions answered. Hare Krishna, I think we'll stop there. It's now 7:44. And we'll stop there. So Vanchakalpa Trubhe Shakti Sindhaveda. Patitanam Pavan Via Vaishnavibhyo. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Really enjoyed the class. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the attendees that joined us. Geeta, Kamya, Devi, Dasi, Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for joining us. Shamista, Binesh, thank you Mataji. And Vrishti Rambaran, Hare Krishna, thank you. And Kirusha Mataji joined us, but I think she's got some connectivity issues, so she's off and on,
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful class.
Yeah, Geeta Gamya is one of my students as well.
Oh, welcome, Mataji. Geeta Gamya, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Everybody knows you in Durban. Show your face. Geeta Gamya. We don't know you by this name, though.
Hare Krishna. I know I'm not photo ready.
Okay.
Hey, bro. Okay.
Please accept my obeisances. All glories to your Prabhupada. Vanchakalpa Tribhyascha, Kripa Sundra Bhayavacha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.